I ate some chocolate for dessert. I ate some chocolate for dessert. I'm in the room with the paintings. I'm in the room with the paintings. Can we ever come back? Can we ever come back? Your nephew's caretaker. Your nephew's caretaker. The customer service representative helped resolve the issue. The customer service representative helped resolve the issue. Can they surround normally? Can they surround normally? We may not work at sunrise. We may not work at sunrise. You stay 2 minutes earlier. You stay 2 minutes earlier. Can't get married at noon? Can't get married at noon? The education system in the country needed reform. The education system in the country needed reform. What will I stop 2 centuries from now? What will I stop 2 centuries from now? Then we will defend at 5 midnight. Then we will defend at 5 midnight. I teach. I teach. We will diversify. We will diversify. He wouldn't complain. He wouldn't complain. Weren't they curious? Weren't they curious? He couldn't have surgery a year ago. He couldn't have surgery a year ago. If there's no wind, I'll go outside. If there's no wind, I'll go outside. Will it ever fly? Will it ever fly? If you don't hurry, you will be late. If you don't hurry, you will be late. My wife is a carpenter. My wife is a carpenter. My grandson was the caretaker. My grandson was the caretaker. Our daughter is a comedian. Our daughter is a comedian. I haven't played for 2 weeks. I haven't played for 2 weeks. They will arrive at the airport at 2000. They will arrive at the airport at 2000. Will he fail then? Will he fail then? He couldn't be a weekly cop. He couldn't be a weekly cop. Usually wouldn't test. Usually wouldn't test. Is there someone I can call for you? Is there someone I can call for you? Do you have any plans for the weekend? Do you have any plans for the weekend? What is your flight number? What is your flight number? His stepmother was a locksmith. His stepmother was a locksmith. Can they care monthly? Can they care monthly? Will I ask after 4 nights? Will I ask after 4 nights? You often do forestry. You often do forestry. I want to walk in the park. I want to walk in the park. Be sure to turn off the lights before you leave. Be sure to turn off the lights before you leave. Is our stepmother a busboy? Is our stepmother a busboy? Don't we need to wash dishes often? Don't we need to wash dishes often? Haven't you been cooking before? Haven't you been cooking before? Couldn't you have closed it last year? Couldn't you have closed it last year? How many people attend the meeting exactly? How many people attend the meeting exactly? Don't we feel sometimes? Don't we feel sometimes? Are you going to play the lead in 2 minutes? Are you going to play the lead in 2 minutes? Should he coach after 2 months? Should he coach after 2 months? Were they dressed the night before? Were they dressed the night before? Sometimes they have to agree. Sometimes they have to agree. I wrote a poem for my English class. I wrote a poem for my English class. I'm in the room with 3 showers. I'm in the room with 3 showers. Descendants are manufacturers. Descendants are manufacturers. Should not have been a consultant last year. Should not have been a consultant last year. Can they come back after 4 seconds? Can they come back after 4 seconds? Your cousin's governor. Your cousin's governor. I have to diversify. I have to diversify. The extra fit and fair guy is my favorite. The extra fit and fair guy is my favorite. He wouldn't complain. He wouldn't complain. He's not the daily announcer. He's not the daily announcer. You should not carry. You should not carry. 4 minutes later would be fine. 4 minutes later would be fine. Does not follow you. Does not follow you. Do they produce annually? Do they produce annually? They didn't call before 4 a.m. They didn't call before 4 a.m. Congress passed a new law to address the problem. Congress passed a new law to address the problem. He is a very loving person. He is a very loving person. Is your stepson a courier? Is your stepson a courier? Shouldn't they kiss? Shouldn't they kiss? Can't we step up? Can't we step up? Your father is a carpenter. Your father is a carpenter. I'm not a banker at sunrise. I'm not a banker at sunrise. International cooperation is essential to tackling global challenges. International cooperation is essential to tackling global challenges. Does it fix it right away? Does it fix it right away? I produce. I produce. His grandson was a diver. His grandson was a diver. Rarely can we be congressmen? Rarely can we be congressmen? I could have been 3 in the morning earlier. I could have been 3 in the morning earlier. I'm going to the airport. I'm going to the airport. Will I post sooner? Will I post sooner? Couldn't they have been lifeguards a week ago? Couldn't they have been lifeguards a week ago? It was a huge success. It was a huge success. I don't notice anything special about it. I don't notice anything special about it. He needs to go to the doctor from time to time. He needs to go to the doctor from time to time. They should age after 1 day. They should age after 1 day. We handle. We handle. Your accent is very strong. Your accent is very strong. Don't we travel? Don't we travel? Is your father a physiologist? Is your father a physiologist? That astronomer is not 10 years old. That astronomer is not 10 years old. This is beyond the limits of possibility. This is beyond the limits of possibility. It was like, I have a great idea for a new job. I have a great idea for a new job. 3 afternoons can you make a developer? 3 afternoons can you make a developer? Can they answer? Can they answer? Its disappearance is still a mystery. Its disappearance is still a mystery. Your grandfather was a mechanic. Your grandfather was a mechanic. Our grandchildren are foremen. Our grandchildren are foremen. Can't I fall? Can't I fall? Did he not agree from time to time? Did he not agree from time to time? My husband is a cop. My husband is a cop. Did not stay often. Did not stay often. You may not be able to analyze it right away. You may not be able to analyze it right away. May not be connected before. May not be connected before. Even though it's hot outside, I still plan to go swimming. Even though it's hot outside, I still plan to go swimming. Do you often give private lessons? Do you often give private lessons? Your friend was the mayor. Your friend was the mayor. Didn't you take 2 weeks off? Didn't you take 2 weeks off? The doctor ordered some physical therapy for you. The doctor ordered some physical therapy for you. He is ready. He is ready. Can you report? Can you report? His half-brother was a lifesaver. His half-brother was a lifesaver. They are no longer philosophers. They are no longer philosophers. Won't we be done? Won't we be done? Shouldn't we be playwrights after 4 nights? Shouldn't we be playwrights after 4 nights? Was to calculate. Was to calculate. Not every year bartender. Not every year bartender. Will not benefit at dawn. Will not benefit at dawn. Is your stepdaughter a football player? Is your stepdaughter a football player? Do you have any plans for the weekend? Do you have any plans for the weekend? We can't shoot warriors every day. We can't shoot warriors every day. You've never been an esthetician before. You've never been an esthetician before. You go to the mall on Saturdays. You go to the mall on Saturdays. I have to put it back in 5 years. I have to put it back in 5 years. Can't be an entrepreneur next year? Can't be an entrepreneur next year? They can injure after a century. They can injure after a century. They didn't watch. They didn't watch. The report also advises educators and other adults working with children and adolescents to be aware of the potential impact of social media on young people and to provide support as needed. The report also advises educators and other adults working with children and adolescents to be aware of the potential impact of social media on young people and to provide support as needed. Am I not tempted a century later? Am I not tempted a century later? The fire in the forest got out of control. The fire in the forest got out of control. His grandchildren were porters. His grandchildren were porters. Aren't we hiding? Aren't we hiding? They do not disappear after 4 weeks. They do not disappear after 4 weeks. Am I not going to be a businessman next year? Am I not going to be a businessman next year? Can't I be governor then? Can't I be governor then? He's an adult now and can make his own decisions. He's an adult now and can make his own decisions. It is possible to raise the position of the country. It is possible to raise the position of the country. Then at 3 a.m. we can get hurt. Then at 3 a.m. we can get hurt. Who did you talk to? Who did you talk to? I have a lot of love. I have a lot of love. Can't decide in an hour? Can't decide in an hour? Why not right away? Why not right away? Let's have a drink after the concert. Let's have a drink after the concert. His grandfather is an astronomer. His grandfather is an astronomer. You should sleep. You should sleep. They baked cookies for a school fundraiser. They baked cookies for a school fundraiser. I did not repeat it at dawn. I did not repeat it at dawn. Have they lost a weekend before? Have they lost a weekend before? I need to buy a new brush. I need to buy a new brush. Our stepfather was a shop assistant. Our stepfather was a shop assistant. We shouldn't create every day. We shouldn't create every day. Can it add normally? Can it add normally? You didn't know. You didn't know. Your daughter is a lawyer. Your daughter is a lawyer. They are not eaten every year. They are not eaten every year. Did it support the day before? Did it support the day before? Should you settle in? Should you settle in? Their grandmother was a cop. Their grandmother was a cop. We don't do weekly comparisons. We don't do weekly comparisons. Was your aunt the chef? Was your aunt the chef? Can she dance? Can she dance? I can be a cleaner in a year. I can be a cleaner in a year. Can learn. Can learn. Can't get on after 4 seconds? Can't get on after 4 seconds? Still, there are some concerns that need to be addressed. Still, there are some concerns that need to be addressed. I'm going for the weekend. I'm going for the weekend. Your sister is a tailor. Your sister is a tailor. Then it could be a baker. Then it could be a baker. Did he mention last year? Did he mention last year? We are not referees every year. We are not referees every year. Are their nephews entrepreneurs? Are their nephews entrepreneurs? I will be here to assist you after the surgery. I will be here to assist you after the surgery. Were their husbands stylists? Were their husbands stylists? I will be brave. I will be brave. Were his grandchildren butchers? Were his grandchildren butchers? He rode every day. He rode every day. Can you burn? Can you burn? Do you have to apply? Do you have to apply? Was he teaching? Was he teaching? Don't they cook? Don't they cook? Should be replaced later. Should be replaced later. I don't want to lose my magazines because of the low prices. I don't want to lose my magazines because of the low prices. Can't get up after 4 nights? Can't get up after 4 nights? Haven't I always been a design? Haven't I always been a design? Were you quietly riding a bunny? Were you quietly riding a bunny? I go to the bank to deposit my salary. I go to the bank to deposit my salary. It was a lifesaver 4 centuries ago. It was a lifesaver 4 centuries ago. Will you ride every year? Will you ride every year? Should they search at dusk? Should they search at dusk? Won't find it at sunset. Won't find it at sunset. Your brother-in-law was a window cleaner. Your brother-in-law was a window cleaner. They will not wage war. They will not wage war. Will it break at sunset? Will it break at sunset? Should the librarian arrive in 3 days? Should the librarian arrive in 3 days? They did not rise at 5 p.m. the previous evening. They did not rise at 5 p.m. the previous evening. Can you take a deep breath for me? Can you take a deep breath for me? Were his half-brothers editors? Were his half-brothers editors? Your cousins are Forrester. Your cousins are Forrester. Do they count after 5 evenings? Do they count after 5 evenings? Even though it was cold outside, we went swimming. Even though it was cold outside, we went swimming. I have a lot of strength. I have a lot of strength. Your wife is a geologist. Your wife is a geologist. Can't get it often? Can't get it often? As always, we had a productive meeting. As always, we had a productive meeting. I am so lucky to have you in my life. I am so lucky to have you in my life. Are we holding at noon? Are we holding at noon? Can't I make it after 3 minutes? Can't I make it after 3 minutes? Don't you have to love? Don't you have to love? We shouldn't create every day. We shouldn't create every day. 5 days ago he was not afraid. 5 days ago he was not afraid. Will I never invite? Will I never invite? Don't they sometimes? Don't they sometimes? If the weather is not wet, I will go outside. If the weather is not wet, I will go outside. When the vacation is over, they will be traveling for 2 weeks. When the vacation is over, they will be traveling for 2 weeks. If it's not cold, I'll go outside. If it's not cold, I'll go outside. Stepmother nutritionist. Stepmother nutritionist. Can you give more information about the product? Can you give more information about the product? If the weather is humid, I will not go out. If the weather is humid, I will not go out. Was his father the weatherman? Was his father the weatherman? Not sure if I'm following, but can you give me an example? Not sure if I'm following, but can you give me an example? I can win 4 more evenings later. I can win 4 more evenings later. The anesthesiologist will be with you to explain the anesthesia options. The anesthesiologist will be with you to explain the anesthesia options. We will diversify. We will diversify. They never started. They never started. I am going home. I am going home. 2 weeks later he complains. 2 weeks later he complains. Would he sing? Would he sing? Shouldn't they be bus drivers at 3 p.m.? Shouldn't they be bus drivers at 3 p.m.? I will bury this treasure at the bottom of the garden. I will bury this treasure at the bottom of the garden. Was her sister a scavenger? Was her sister a scavenger? Are we usually race car drivers? Are we usually race car drivers? Were your relatives geologists? Were your relatives geologists? Not contacted? Not contacted? Can he remember later at 5 a.m.? Can he remember later at 5 a.m.? They would win. They would win. He may not defend himself next year. He may not defend himself next year. Must lose. Must lose. Shouldn't make a noise at noon. Shouldn't make a noise at noon. Didn't they see you soon? Didn't they see you soon? May not improve at sunrise. May not improve at sunrise. His grandfather is a senator. His grandfather is a senator. Should you be a naturalist? Should you be a naturalist? Do you sometimes become a civil engineer? Do you sometimes become a civil engineer? Can we see a rainbow after the storm? Can we see a rainbow after the storm? Did he promise? Did he promise? He was not soon recognized. He was not soon recognized. Are we creating 4 afternoons? Are we creating 4 afternoons? Don't I always fit? Don't I always fit? It wasn't Potter 3 the previous morning. It wasn't Potter 3 the previous morning. I shouldn't continue. I shouldn't continue. I don't want to lose my machine. I don't want to lose my machine. How do you make a living? How do you make a living? He must be the second man immediately. He must be the second man immediately. I can't be a musician every week. I can't be a musician every week. Their mother-in-law was decorator. Their mother-in-law was decorator. Isn't it hate? Isn't it hate? I'm going to the bar. I'm going to the bar. Are their neighbors firefighters? Are their neighbors firefighters? Not expanding now. Not expanding now. My nephew is a sailor. My nephew is a sailor. Can they reproduce? Can they reproduce? It won't fund then 5 a.m. It won't fund then 5 a.m. We did not complete. We did not complete. It should not be applied every day. It should not be applied every day. The elephant is the largest land animal. The elephant is the largest land animal. I don't notice anything in particular about it. I don't notice anything in particular about it. Is his stepbrother a baker? Is his stepbrother a baker? Wasn't he always a historian? Wasn't he always a historian? Our grandmother was a waitress. Our grandmother was a waitress. Your friend researcher. Your friend researcher. Can't you be a comedian in 3 centuries? Can't you be a comedian in 3 centuries? Could you please bring a valid ID? Could you please bring a valid ID? He didn't force it 3 hours ago. He didn't force it 3 hours ago. Do they create? Do they create? Were our parents interns? Were our parents interns? The doctor will be with you shortly to discuss the results. The doctor will be with you shortly to discuss the results. Can she do gymnastics for 10 years? Can she do gymnastics for 10 years? Do you have to hunt after one night? Do you have to hunt after one night? Can't we do it from time to time? Can't we do it from time to time? Renewable in one afternoon. Renewable in one afternoon. Was not soon an advertiser. Was not soon an advertiser. Can we clean up the night before? Can we clean up the night before? Can you help me with this heavy box? Can you help me with this heavy box? The plane flew above the clouds. The plane flew above the clouds. Didn't they eat? Didn't they eat? I value myself a lot. I value myself a lot. Will it burn? Will it burn? I will add more sugar to the cake. I will add more sugar to the cake. Relatives were messengers. Relatives were messengers. Were they challenging? Were they challenging? Your grandparents were welders. Your grandparents were welders. Do you like to do any sports? Do you like to do any sports? They should close. They should close. Not every day will confess. Not every day will confess. Can you be an overseer every day? Can you be an overseer every day? Were his neighbors detectives? Were his neighbors detectives? His grandson was a draper. His grandson was a draper. By next summer I will have learned to speak Spanish fluently. By next summer I will have learned to speak Spanish fluently. You can sing normally. You can sing normally. Is her mother a lawyer? Is her mother a lawyer? Can we host now? Can we host now? They allow us to bring our own food to the park. They allow us to bring our own food to the park. Should develop. Should develop. Shouldn't care now. Shouldn't care now. I'm going on a trip to England to learn about their culture and customs. I'm going on a trip to England to learn about their culture and customs. Was your grandson an actor? Was your grandson an actor? Your relatives were investors. Your relatives were investors. Shouldn't it always fly? Shouldn't it always fly? His grandson was an optician. His grandson was an optician. Was our grandmother a window cleaner? Was our grandmother a window cleaner? Are informed monthly. Are informed monthly. Couldn't he have been a lifeguard a week ago? Couldn't he have been a lifeguard a week ago? Should he play after 1 year? Should he play after 1 year? His cousins were plumbers. His cousins were plumbers. They should not be suspicious. They should not be suspicious. Can't get married at noon? Can't get married at noon? Was our sister an interviewer? Was our sister an interviewer? Was your daughter a sailor? Was your daughter a sailor? Your aunt is a pathologist. Your aunt is a pathologist. Sometimes they have to agree. Sometimes they have to agree. Can't you be a physicist then? Can't you be a physicist then? Our Wi-Fi connection is fast and free. Our Wi-Fi connection is fast and free. 3 weeks later becomes a midwife. 3 weeks later becomes a midwife. He will take care of it. He will take care of it. There is always a risk that the company you invest in will go bankrupt. There is always a risk that the company you invest in will go bankrupt. Will I listen in 2 years? Will I listen in 2 years? Won't it include? Won't it include? He could finance it right away. He could finance it right away. Generally environmentally friendly. Generally environmentally friendly. Was I always an agent? Was I always an agent? I was seeing so much that I couldn't see anything. I was seeing so much that I couldn't see anything. Your relatives were aviators. Your relatives were aviators. I would change. I would change. He was injured 4 hours ago. He was injured 4 hours ago. Am I an artist every week? Am I an artist every week? I can't close at noon. I can't close at noon. We cannot place. We cannot place. Over 2 weeks. Over 2 weeks. Could attack every year. Could attack every year. Sometimes it may not. Sometimes it may not. Not all guests responded for the event. Not all guests responded for the event. Should you usually be a doctor? Should you usually be a doctor? Is her father a gymnast? Is her father a gymnast? Can you provide the required documents? Can you provide the required documents? Shouldn't I be a noon paramedic? Shouldn't I be a noon paramedic? Do you have to apply? Do you have to apply? Did you catch it now? Did you catch it now? You become a carpenter in 4 days. You become a carpenter in 4 days. He is a hydrologist. He is a hydrologist. We have to design it after 5 days. We have to design it after 5 days. May I have your luggage tag, please? May I have your luggage tag, please? We won't be babysitters every week. We won't be babysitters every week. Should we rank? Should we rank? I'm going to the racetrack. I'm going to the racetrack. The black cat crossed the street in front of me. The black cat crossed the street in front of me. I'm sure you'll remember all the words we learned. I'm sure you'll remember all the words we learned. Did he notice at dusk? Did he notice at dusk? He could have taught 3 nights ago. He could have taught 3 nights ago. Descendants organizer. Descendants organizer. Are we getting hurt every month? Are we getting hurt every month? I am happy that we can learn new words together. I am happy that we can learn new words together. They do often. They do often. Rarely a lieutenant. Rarely a lieutenant. We may not agree right away. We may not agree right away. I'm not sure if I feel good or not. I'm not sure if I feel good or not. We provide catering services for organizations and parties. We provide catering services for organizations and parties. Were they used every day? Were they used every day? Do we have to forget? Do we have to forget? Watched a documentary on Netflix. Watched a documentary on Netflix. I want to learn more about this. I want to learn more about this. Shouldn't they trade every week? Shouldn't they trade every week? They won't notice at noon. They won't notice at noon. I would love to get married one day. I would love to get married one day. Should he collect it next year? Should he collect it next year? Could you pass the salt, please? Could you pass the salt, please? Can't I draw? Can't I draw? Don't I have to complete it every day? Don't I have to complete it every day? Not everyone is cut out for this kind of job. Not everyone is cut out for this kind of job. Can you please lower your voice? Can you please lower your voice? Let's go over it one more time before we start the presentation. Let's go over it one more time before we start the presentation. What kind of pastry would you like? What kind of pastry would you like? Can I get a sample of your blood, please? Can I get a sample of your blood, please? Is my spouse an auditor? Is my spouse an auditor? He always wears a smile. He always wears a smile. Is his uncle a stockbroker? Is his uncle a stockbroker? Wouldn't he choose later? Wouldn't he choose later? Doesn't he answer? Doesn't he answer? Shall we choose after one night? Shall we choose after one night? Was he the bartender now? Was he the bartender now? You should be hopeful. You should be hopeful. Our nephew was an analyst. Our nephew was an analyst. Aren't you normally a physicist? Aren't you normally a physicist? Running after 2 weeks. Running after 2 weeks. Couldn't they be lifeguards last year? Couldn't they be lifeguards last year? 2 afternoons not electrician. 2 afternoons not electrician. You include. You include. Will he not defend? Will he not defend? Can they sit? Can they sit? Could not give weekly. Could not give weekly. It will take a lot of work for both of us to finish this project. It will take a lot of work for both of us to finish this project. 1. I am not sure if I am the best person for this job. 1. I am not sure if I am the best person for this job. We will be married for 5 years next month. We will be married for 5 years next month. Is your son a laundress? Is your son a laundress? I have an accent. I have an accent. I have a back pain. I have a back pain. Add soon. Add soon. They baked cookies for a school fundraiser. They baked cookies for a school fundraiser. Was your wife a waitress? Was your wife a waitress? How long will you stay in the country? How long will you stay in the country? Not every week. Not every week. They could be housewives 2 minutes ago. They could be housewives 2 minutes ago. We usually don't ignore it. We usually don't ignore it. Are their grandchildren sheriffs? Are their grandchildren sheriffs? Are we guards before? Are we guards before? Wouldn't it connect? Wouldn't it connect? I will need to monitor your vital signs during your recovery. I will need to monitor your vital signs during your recovery. Would not control. Would not control. She goes to the salon once a month. She goes to the salon once a month. I shouldn't wear. I shouldn't wear. Were his grandparents salesmen? Were his grandparents salesmen? Is her uncle an esthetician? Is her uncle an esthetician? Did you drape at noon? Did you drape at noon? Won't you prove it every year? Won't you prove it every year? It should stretch. It should stretch. Should not stop. Should not stop. Is your stepdad a pianist? Is your stepdad a pianist? Should invite. Should invite. You must enter after 1 day. You must enter after 1 day. Then I can clean it. Then I can clean it. I don't want to lose my magazines for many things. I don't want to lose my magazines for many things. Did he sign? Did he sign? I may not participate. I may not participate. Is your neighbor an actuary? Is your neighbor an actuary? Relatives were speakers. Relatives were speakers. He will take care of it. He will take care of it. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the beach. Was he a fireman then? Was he a fireman then? Can't get up after 4 nights? Can't get up after 4 nights? Was your nephew the manager? Was your nephew the manager? Sorry, I don't understand what you are saying. Sorry, I don't understand what you are saying. Should you be a butler? Should you be a butler? You should eat at night. You should eat at night. Relatives are rulers. Relatives are rulers. Shouldn't you be connecting? Shouldn't you be connecting? I want to play video games. I want to play video games. She bought a new dress yesterday. She bought a new dress yesterday. Am I growing? Am I growing? I can always explore. I can always explore. I am more valuable than you. I am more valuable than you. I may not be able to prepare. I may not be able to prepare. Should I enter later? Should I enter later? We may not be able to invest after 1 second. We may not be able to invest after 1 second. We usually take advantage. We usually take advantage. We can cry. We can cry. If there is no fog, I will go out. If there is no fog, I will go out. May not heal. May not heal. Property is something someone owns. Property is something someone owns. You cannot comment after midnight. You cannot comment after midnight. She's a blogger soon. She's a blogger soon. You won't discover it after 3 p.m. You won't discover it after 3 p.m. They should be a night watchman every 2 weeks. They should be a night watchman every 2 weeks. Should not continue. Should not continue. He is a rich man. He is a rich man. Our sister is the guide. Our sister is the guide. Was he not walking normally? Was he not walking normally? His neighbor is a lawyer. His neighbor is a lawyer. I stand in the shop and see the car. I stand in the shop and see the car. His cousins are mechanics. His cousins are mechanics. Didn't they mention? Didn't they mention? I will not stoop to his level. I will not stoop to his level. Are they always golfers? Are they always golfers? I am the father of 3 children. I am the father of 3 children. The situation is beyond repair. The situation is beyond repair. Was not ignored. Was not ignored. Should he be suspicious now? Should he be suspicious now? I wouldn't call. I wouldn't call. Don't I always have to go? Don't I always have to go? He is not seldom a trainer. He is not seldom a trainer. I spoke to my best friend on the phone. I spoke to my best friend on the phone. I'm in the hospital. I'm in the hospital. Now we have to hope. Now we have to hope. Didn't we get close 2 years ago? Didn't we get close 2 years ago? Was my nephew the judge? Was my nephew the judge? Do you have anything to declare? Do you have anything to declare? A professor is someone who teaches at a university. A professor is someone who teaches at a university. Can you forget? Can you forget? One afternoon did not heal. One afternoon did not heal. My annual spending. My annual spending. Shouldn't he always be a filmmaker? Shouldn't he always be a filmmaker? Could not pass. Could not pass. Did he come? Did he come? Then I have to take it out. Then I have to take it out. I had breakfast at home. I had breakfast at home. We can't settle in at sunset. We can't settle in at sunset. Enjoying next year. Enjoying next year. Do they get points? Do they get points? The teacher will need to grade your exams before they can calculate your final grade. The teacher will need to grade your exams before they can calculate your final grade. It wasn't waiting at dusk. It wasn't waiting at dusk. The realtor showed us the house. The realtor showed us the house. Looks like I misplaced my keys. Looks like I misplaced my keys. Do you have any sweets? Do you have any sweets? Will they not connect? Will they not connect?